let's talk more about Star Wars, because there's been a lot happening with this movie. There's been a lot happening. I'm hyped. I've talked about it openly. I've made videos about how hyped I am. I've dealt with a lot of people that aren't hype at all, that they're just like, it's garbage, it's trash, it's a dumpster fire. I don't want anything to do with it. It's terrible. And I'm like, all right, bro, you're going to go see it anyway. Because I know they're all going to, right? The people out there, the most ardent Star Wars critics are going to be like, I'm not going to go see The Rise of Skywalker. Now they're going to go see it. I think at this point, just utter curiosity, right? Either you want to see it because you hope it's good, or you want to see it because you want to see a train wreck. Either way, it's going to be a good time, right? So you're going to go see it. That's my prediction. And so anyway, but one of the biggest controversies coming out of this, right? Because there's been so much that's been quote unquote leaked about the movie and that its problems. Does it have 6 endings? Does it have, is there a Bob Iger cut, a Kathleen Kennedy cut, a George Lucas cut? All of these things. Was it disastrous test screenings when test screenings don't exist? And there's been no evidence to support that any test screening has ever happened for any Star Wars movie under Disney control. But yet I'm still seeing videos and headlines from certain articles saying, oh no, they were disastrous and people walked out. We would hear about it if that was the case. Someone would say something. Someone would violate NDA. It doesn't exist. It's fake news. But my favorite one from all of this, right? My favorite one came out. And it was all about the, did you hear? Did you hear? Disney spent so much money on Skywalker because they had to go back and reshoot 75% of the movie. And the cost is now over $300 million. There's no way Disney's going to turn a profit. There's no way. It's done, baby. It's done. Star Wars is dead. It's just done. They overspent. Well, you know what? That's all fake information. Real information is this one. J.J. Abrams says that The Force Awakens had more reshoots than The Rise of Skywalker. Funny that this actually came out 2 days ago. I missed this article 2 days ago when it dropped. And no one else is talking about it. People that are making videos that are saying, like, did you hear about the test screenings? Are not saying anything about this one. That's kind of funny, isn't it? Right? A little bit on the peculiar side. All I want to ask you right now is it getting the noggin or jogging? Because if it's getting the noggin or jogging, you may want to start kind of maybe questioning some of these things. Now, here's what it says. J.J. Abrams is known to be a tinkerer as a director. He can make adjustments on the fly and will make sweeping changes up to the last minute if it's for the betterment of the film. He went so far as to conduct reshoots for 10 Cloverfield Lane at an office at his Bad Robot facility. And rumors have swirled that Star Wars The Force Awakens went through many changes during post-production, courtesy of some substantial reshoots. But with The Rise of Skywalker, it sounds like Abrams actually nailed the story pretty early. He was brought in back to the fold to craft a conclusion not to the sequel trilogy, but to the Skywalker Saga as a whole. And he co-wrote the screenplay himself with Oscar-winning Argo screenwriter Chris Terrio. Speaking with Entertainment Weekly, Abrams revealed that The Force Awakens underwent more reshoots than his initial Star Wars film. If only because on TFA, he was still trying to figure out who the characters were. And this is a reality. When you're doing a trilogy or a franchise, the actors and the writers and the production crew, because they've been so into it forever, they generally know what to do. They know what works. They know what's going to fly. And so they just kind of get it done. I mean, I would argue that the Russos, when working with Robert Downey Jr. for Civil War and then Infinity War and Endgame, by the time they got done working with him, which was from 2015 to 2019, roughly 4 years of being that close, by the time they got to the end, they probably knew how to shoot him and they had a great rapport. So they were able to walk in, get it done, and walk out and be good with it. Right? Experience and practice allows for those kind of things to take place. People get into the groove, and so they know just how to breeze through a production because they know what they're doing. These are professionals. These aren't newbie filmmakers. These aren't newbie entertainers. And that's one of the key things I want people to remember here, that when you listen to other people And they talk about how much disaster this movie is in, as if the people that aren't working on it in the creative aspect are not ardent professionals who've been doing this for well over 20 years, if not more. People who know the ins and outs of Hollywood and know the ins and outs of filmmaking. Come on. At no point in time does anyone want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. Why would they? Why would they give them the benefit of the doubt when there's so much money to be made in casting it? And yeah, that's my criticism of certain people out there, because I'm sorry, you don't know movies. I'm just putting that out there. You don't work in LA. You don't work in Hollywood. You don't know movies. You don't understand how it works. You just understand how to react. That's my criticism. Now, he says here, we've had more reshoots on episode 7 than this one. We had more story adjustments on episode 7 than this one. We didn't know if these characters would work, if the actors would be able to carry a Star Wars movie. There were a lot of things we didn't know. On this, we knew who and what worked, and everyone is doing the best work I've ever seen anyone do. Now, granted, that does come across like PR spin. Okay, everyone's doing the best, and you hear this when you watch a press junket, which is why I don't like press junkets. You know, you go to Comic-Con, you see the Q&A, right? Person's like, oh, so what was it like working with this actor? Oh my God, it was the best ever. They're just amazing. But behind the scenes, they hate each other, right? Like, it's just, you know, it's PR. I get it. But filmmaker perspective, you know, when he's talking about like the differences between the two, he is trying to reassure people through this. He's like, look, if you liked The Force Awakens, we had a lot more trouble making The Force Awakens. This movie flowed a lot smoother. So if you like that, you probably will like this. And even the Last Jedi, which was delayed by 6 months to accommodate rewrites of the script, it's had a very smooth production. I couldn't find much information on reshoots. Had a very smooth production. Sad about the outcome, but a very smooth production. Now, JJ here does acknowledge that just because there was less tinkering doesn't mean The Rise of Skywalker was a walk in the park. He called this film far more ambitious than Episode 7, saying, but the ambition of this movie is far greater than The Force Awakens. What we set out to do was far more challenging. Everything is exponentially larger on this. And that's true. This is not just setting up the final trilogy in the Skywalker Saga. This is the conclusion. And as we've seen from the previews, they're going back into some deep ass lore here. You know, they're bringing back Palpatine. They're clearly going to be tinkering with clones. I'm calling the clone thing. Okay, they're going to be doing a lot of crazy stuff to tie it all in. And I think they're going to tie in elements of Clone Wars and potentially Rebels. We saw the Ghost pop up in one of those shots. Abrams is going back in and pulling from like every single corner he can think of. And I would laugh my ass off if somehow Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order pops up, or the Mandalorian makes an appearance. Imagine if that happened. How many of us would cream our jeans right there? I know I would. Now, but even Daisy Ridley has said that, talking about it, she says here, and this is to say things didn't change during the making of Rise of Skywalker, revealed earlier this year that the ending of the film was adjusted during filming. And that does happen quite often. So, but Daisy Ridley said, JJ had told me the ending when I read the script, and I was sort of shifting. The ending was always pretty similar, but then I was told that there was sort of a new, I guess, slightly different beat added that I was told, which was awesome. Because it's nice to be told the thing that you can like experience it with the filmmaker. But also, we didn't know how it was going to turn out. We did the thing on the side of the camera, so we don't know how it's going to turn out. So I'm excited to see it as everybody else. Now, this could also be part of that particular rumor about the different endings. If they were shifting them on the fly and they're tinkering with it as they go. And again, that is a very common process. How many times do you see this in movies? When people talk and they go, oh yeah, no, I remember, we were shooting the movie at night, like Zazie Beetz, for example, on Joker. Perfect example. She had said in an interview that while they were shooting at nighttime, Joaquin Phoenix and Todd Phillips, and I think even her in some aspects, were retooling their dialogue and rewriting scenes for the next day. As I like to remind people, there's the movie you write, there's the movie you shoot, and then there's the movie you edit. So the pre-production, production, post-production, and each experience gives you a different product, because movie making is a very, very hard thing to do. To tell a good, complete story requires things to be shifting all the time. What looks good in your head, what feels good in your head, and what looks good in your mind's eye may not translate to the exact specifications on screen. You may think of something, think it looks cool, get it on set, get it all set up, and go, you know what? I don't like it. Let's change. And that happens all the time in movies and television and entertainment. I think maybe, how about this? Here's an example for all of you movie buffs out there, or music buffs out there, right? Green Day's American Idiot, one of their best albums, in my opinion. I'd say it's Dookie and then American Idiot, as far as my favorites go. But American Idiot was not the original music they recorded. Someone broke in and I think stole the master, or it got destroyed somehow. And so the story goes that they just went back and they rewrote everything. And they created whole new songs. And from that, we got American Idiot. Who knows what that original stuff was? But we got American Idiot, which is a fantastic album. That's one that is still one of the highest grossing albums of all time. People love that thing. It's been in all elements of pop culture. But it wasn't the first outing. It was when something gets in your way and you have to be creative and fix it. And that's what they did. And that's what's happening here. So the ending of the movie is going to be something that none of us, I think, are going to expect from what I hear. But reshoots are something that they clearly were planning around, right? So they had them, obviously. But everything else they had pre-built to the point of where if they needed to modify on the fly, they could adjust while they were there. And therefore that saves the movie time. And it saves the movie's budget, and it saves frustration. And JJ knew he was up against the clock, so he had to plan accordingly. And it looks like he did. It appears like he did. When he came in September 2017 to take over for Colin Trevorrow, he hit the ground running. And from what it appears like to me, he hasn't stopped in over 2 years. And he's ready for that finish line on December 20th. And quite frankly, I think the rest of us are too. But as always, I want to hear your thoughts and your opinions on this one, because this is more or less at this point a battle of information. What's real and what's not concerning this movie. And I do want to hear your thoughts on this. Does this change your opinion on where things might be, considering you might have a different opinion based upon what you might have seen in another video, or read in a tweet, or read another article? Does this change your mind at all? I'm curious to know. I am. This video is supported by patrons like you. If you'd like to become a patron, please head over to patreon.com/Matt Jarbo.